In the previous videos, we went over how to create a three-dimensional mock-up using Photoshop. I also wanted to give you the option to do it in dimensions, and I have to give you the same caveat I gave you before. Dimensions can be very frustrating if you don't have a lot of memory on your desktop or laptop computer, and I really recommend you give it a shot and try these, but at the end of the day, you may find it's either going to crash your system or make it time out and not be able to get the job done. So if you do want to attempt this using dimensions, you'll notice in the module for week 15, there's a zip file that says packaging object files. And in there, you'll find 6 different beverage mockups here. Some of them are from Adobe. Some of them I've gotten from TurboSquid here. What you want to do is go through each of these and check it out. And you want to click on each one and find the object file, the one that's .obj. And I'll just show you what these look like. So here's one of the Adobe ones. Let me drag it onto dimensions here. All right, so there's one look there. Let me show you another one here. So that's one of the Adobes. Again, look for that object file, and I'll drag it on here. Don't save the previous one. So here you can see another version of it here. Take it into the distance, some here, or sink it into the ground. So there you can see it back there. And again, look for the .obj file. And so I tried to give you a variety here to work with, and I'll just show you each of them here. So here you can see a little bit smaller. You can size these up, obviously, and position them. And so that's one of the one labeled Bex. Here's the object file. You want to find that. So again, with dimensions, you can only ever have one open at a time. That's why every time I open these, so here you can see one where it's on its side. Here you can see also black bottles, but you can change that. Let's see. You can change the surface of that if you want to, looking for the object files. So I just want to show you all of these. So this one was, I believe, Corona, so it comes complete with little limes in the bottles if you wanted to do that. And then the last one I wanted to show you here, just the one I'll probably do the demo on. Look for the OBJ object file. That's the one you're going to pull in here. And so you'll have your 6-pack in here, and obviously you can rotate it around however you want. Let's go ahead and make this larger. If you grab this green square here and hold the Option Shift key down, it should allow you to make it a little bit larger here. So again, in dimensions, you can rotate this around in whatever dimension or whatever direction you want. Probably don't want to tip it into the ground there. And you'll notice over here in your scene panel, here you've got the 6-pack, here you've got the individual bottles. If you click on the bottle here, you can actually, if you want to, let's see here, move some of these around. Somehow I got a duplicate in there. Let's try this again here. Bottle 1, yeah. So you can pull the bottles out if you want to on here and create a scene. You can position these however you want, in front or behind. Remember, the key here, though, is you want to be able to show off your designs as best as possible. So again, you can rotate this around whichever direction you want, the whole scene. Oh, don't want to do that. So you might want to test drive a couple different angles on this. You can even look down on it if you want to as well. So once you've got the dimensions objects file open, then we can talk about starting to put some scenery and put your graphics on here. So before we get into this and talk about lighting or whatever, let's go ahead and get our graphics in here first. So what I'm going to do is go back to my Illustrator. And again, this was work from one of my prior students here, and I don't think she'll mind if we do this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to save the graphics for each panel in here, including the label over here, and we're going to add them into the library. So these graphics happen to all be done in Illustrator, so they're all vectors, but you'll notice there's still a lot of fonts in here. There's a lot of line work in here. So what I'm going to do for each of these, actually I'll just select everything here. First of all, what I want to do is make sure there are no fonts, that everything's been outlined. So I'm going to come up here under Type and then Create Outlines. And that should have changed all the type in here from fonts to vectors so that there won't be any problem with it getting skewed when we do the 3D render in here. The other thing I'm going to do is there's quite a bit of line work around here. There's strokes in the illustration. There's strokes as the dividers on here. And you want to make sure you outline your strokes before you import this as well. So I'm going to come up here with everything selected. Come here to Object, drop down to where it says Path, and then you want to do outline stroke on here. So everywhere there was line work, now these are vectors and it won't be much of a problem. And then what we can do is we can just add these into our libraries. So up here next to your Properties panel, select Libraries, and you want to do these one at a time. So here will be my long side graphics on here, and I'm going to just drag it in here. And there you can see it says Artwork 1. Let's go ahead and select the side panel here. Drag it in here. Artwork 2. We'll get the handle as well. Drag this in here. And then last but not least, I'm going to take one of the labels over here and drag it in. So once these are in my library, now just because you've dragged them in doesn't mean they're going to be there in dimensions. What you have to make sure you do is once you drag those into the library, make sure you resave your file here. So, and I'm just going to save it on the desktop here. And once you do that, all the artwork should be able to show up in dimensions. So let's go back to dimensions. Sorry for the little jump in the video there. I had a little bit of an issue here with dimensions. So I had to reset this. It's not exactly the way it was a couple minutes ago, but now we're going to talk about how to set your scene, and then we'll talk about putting graphics on here. So we've got the models that we're using on here already. Let's talk about materials on here. Now what you can do is come over here and select these bottles individually, and you'll see you've got Adobe standard materials. Here's glass. We can click on that and make it a glass bottle on there as well. And again, come up here under your scene and you can do this bottle by bottle in here. Let's go ahead and turn that into glass. You can also too, if you scroll down here a little bit, you'll see this is B if it was filled with water. Slight difference on there, but I think that might look a little better. So back to bottle 1, we'll do water on that as well. Come up here, bottle 3, click on the water. You can see back there it changed it. Bottle 4 is the one hiding behind there. We'll do water on that one as well. Bottle 5. And then I've got one left here. So there you can see we've got kind of a clear bottle on here. If we talk about the carrier, we can come down here and do some of the other materials as well. Now for packaging, probably the white glossy to show off your graphics is going to be, didn't need that to do everything. Let's see here. Let's see, there we go. Let's try this. There we go. So I put a glossy white kind of cardboard subject on here. Then we still have the clear bottles for the bottles themselves. As you scroll down here too, and again, there's other materials up here, but they're probably not going to be the best option for you. Now what we can do is talk a little bit about lighting, and you can always come back and adjust this later. Directional lights, these are basically kind of the studio lights. Now every time you click on these, it's going to add a light up here. So by clicking on more than one, you're going to really kind of blow it out here. So if you end up with too many lights, you can just highlight this and hit the delete key on your keyboard. And even no matter what lighting you have, remember, you can come down here in the properties panel and you can adjust it. So you can change the angle of the light on here, how high it is. You can see the shadows adjusting in here. You want to pick an angle that's going to show off your graphics the best on here. So I'm changing the lighting a little bit on here. So now I've got kind of materials and lighting. You can do environmental lighting on here as well if you want to, but that may be something that doesn't really show off your design as well. So again, you can test drive various ones on here and see what works for you. Then we come down here and you can put a background image on here. You can select one of these, the tabletop. I'm not going to do it because actually I kind of think it becomes a little bit more distracting as a portfolio piece. If you want to show off your design, then having a really busy background back here isn't going to help you. If you do click on one of these though, you'll have the option to match the perspective, so it will look like your six-pack and your bottles are actually on the tabletop or whatever background you're using on there. So we've kind of got that all set up. Now let's talk about putting your graphics on here. So once our scene is set here, now we can look into putting all your graphics on the bottles and the carrier. So to do that, come up here in the upper left-hand corner where it says Starter Assets, click on that, and you'll see an option to take you to Libraries. And once you do that, now you can see all the pieces that we saved to the library from the Illustrator file. And really, it's just a matter of clicking and dragging these onto the surface you want them on. And you can size them accordingly on here. Now, keep in mind, your model may be a little bit different, or your dimensions might be a little bit different. So all I'm doing is using these square handles on here to get everything a little bit closer into position here on there. So that's the side of the carrier, or the long side of the carrier. Now I can come over here. Didn't mean to do that. Hang on. All right, sorry about that. Now we're going to go ahead and grab this side and drag that over to this panel here. And it looks like I'm going to have to do it panel by panel here, which kind of sucks. So the angle on this is a little bit off. And to really finish this off, what you may find you need to do is take it into Photoshop and clean this up a little bit because the perspective on this is slightly off here. And now I'm going to do the other side of this, so I'll just grab the same file here. And we can size this up on here. Now again, it's not going to be exact because the dimensions you built this to may not be exactly the same here. Let's see. So it's going to take a little finessing here to get everything in place. And again, you can see my border up here is off, so I'm probably going to have to take that into Photoshop and fix it a little bit. So we've got that. Now what we can do is deal with the handle. That's up here. Drag this onto that panel here. And again, position it. To do this in proportion, if you hold the Option and the Shift key down, there you can see. Now it's going to be a little bit off on here. Let's see. Probably because of the shape on this. So again, there might be necessary to go and clean this up a little bit in Photoshop because you can see my borders are going to be off. That's because the shape of this handle is different than the rectangular shape I have on mine there. So again, so get everything in position. You may need to go into Photoshop once this is rendered and clean it up a little bit. And then we can talk about the bottles here with the labels on it. So here's my label. And I'm dragging the label on here. And obviously it's trying to fill the whole bottle with it. I'm going to size this down and try and do it proportionally by holding the Option and the Shift key down and grabbing this right here. And I couldn't tell you what exactly is going on. It looks like it's trying to put the whole image in here. Let me see something. Interesting. All right, well, I'm going to kind of get this in position. Might have to clean this up a little bit as well. Let's see if we have better success over here. Nope, same thing's happening with it. It is trying to fill the whole bottle. So again, fun with Adobe Dimensions. Never a dull moment here. So clearly, we're going to have to go in and clean this up a little bit. I need to find out why this is trying to fill everything in here. Let me try something. No, don't want to do that. All right, so it could be the materials I've chosen. It could be this object file. I'm not exactly sure why this is being funky on us here, but it is. So I believe it's trying to pick up the reflections that you would see in the label on here. But anyhow, so that gives you kind of the basics on how to place this. I'm going to find out why this is happening with my bottles here. But when you get things to this position, you can always do a quick check to see what the render would look like on here. There's a little stair step button up here. That will give you a little preview image of the actual render. Now keep in mind too, with dimensions, the rendering can take quite a bit of time. So this will give you a little bit of a preview image of it, and then you can go back to the working file here. When you do get this to a point where you're ready to render it, what I would do is save this off as a dimensions folder. I'll just put my last name on here. And again, I can't tell you what number assignment this is. And once you've saved that dimension file, then what you want to do is come up here and render. And I'm going to click the render. It's probably going to take quite a while to render this out, but then we can see what it looks like. If it happens soon enough, I'll include it in this video. If not, I'll pop it up during the Zoom meetings this week. So let's go ahead and hit render. And now it's going to be thinking about it till tomorrow morning, probably. If I get this done in a reasonable time, I'll show you the final results, or as I said, I can just pop it up during the Zoom meeting.